All right, welcome back. Like we were saying before we went on the break, we're going to have, a topic on political discourse and cyberbullying. We have an expert on the line. He's Dr. Emmanuel Ahene. He's a cybersecurity expert and lecturer at KNUST. Doc, you're welcome. Hello, Doc. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning to you and all your wonderful listeners.
All right,
thank you.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on the line. First of all, we want to know, how would you describe the current state of political discourse online, especially in relation to cyberbullying?
Right, thank you very much for this question. I just would want to give a good to this, and so we can understand what exactly cyberbullying is. Okay, so even before I talk about the current state, I think it's important for us to understand. I think it's important for us to understand what cyberbullying specifically is and what the legislative instrument tells us how to deal with it. So if somebody uses digital platforms such as social media, messaging apps, and even online forums, or any other kind of electronic communication tool to harass, intimidate, or harm others, then we say that that is cyberbullying. Now, if this is persistent, or if you like, the behavior of that person continues even for more than 24 hours, then we say somebody is bullying you on the internet or online or using any electronic means. Now, to describe properly the current state of political discourse online in relation to cyberbullying, I would say that the current state of political discourse online is highly polarized and very toxic. Number one, people are hiding behind fake accounts, and then they are amplifying their extreme views on the social media on several subjects relating to the opposite competitor, or if you like, the people that they are into this competition with. So for example, during elections, you would have platforms like the X, and sometimes also on Facebook, where it becomes like more or less like a battleground. It becomes like a battleground for political parties and their opponents, trying to, in fact, in most cases, their supporters as well, trying to engage in personal attacks rather than discussing policies. So you have cyberbullying escalating, and even currently it has highly escalated because you have supporters of opponents trying to be negative towards each other, expressing themselves in hate speech and in insults, particularly sometimes even in the comment section and also in private messages. Okay, so this is currently the kind of state of political discourse that we have online.
Thank you very much, Doc. Now, I want to know if this has any effect on public opinion.
Yeah, exactly true. So what we get to see is that cyberbullying will skew public opinion by silencing those that fear backlash. Okay, so if you have people who are afraid that they will be backlashed, now they wouldn't even share their opinion on the internet, because if they will share, then you will get people in the comment section and also using other accounts to give a rebuttal. Okay, so for instance, you have young voters who may avoid sharing their views online after witnessing maybe an aggressive trolling, by other activists. So it is important for us to understand that we get to see some impact, or if you like, some effect on public opinion. You don't get people to rightly express their views, although they may be right, concerning issues, because they are particularly afraid from being taken through some trolling or some kind of bashing.
So all of these things happen on social media. Now, I want
Exactly.
to know, what responsibility do social media platforms have to make sure that they are mitigating cyberbullying and then political discussions?
Great. So social media platforms must enforce policies against cyberbullying. Okay. Interestingly, we are all enjoying social media platforms that are not in the country. I mean, in the US and from other countries. And so when you look at the policies, or if you like, the restrictions that we can give to these social media companies, it basically comes from the kind of local act or legislation tool that we have, and then we trying to employ that against these kinds of bullying online based on strict negotiations with these owners of the social media companies. So in our country, for instance, if we have a legislation that is supposed to help us enforce some control on cyberbullying, we may have to sit down with the operators and then the owners of these social media companies and then get them into agreement or to respect our policies and our rules or our laws that is basically against cyber bullying. And that's how we get to achieve something. Otherwise, you would see that most of these companies like Twitter, Facebook, and so on are currently trying to enforce some clear policies against cyberbullying. For instance, on the Twitter or X, they have that mute or block feature, and also on Facebook is using artificial intelligence moderation to kind of control harmful comments. And you can also, as a user, mute comments or control the kind of comments that you receive when you make a post on the internet. If there are certain specific regulations that we feel as a country we need to have, within our region with respect to how people use these social media platforms, then like I said early on, we would have to sit down with these operators, or if you like, providers of these platforms, to negotiate for them to respect our legal position as far as cyberbullying is concerned. And that's when you would find that if the companies are unable to meet that level of regulation that the country has set, then the country may have to sue the company, like you would hear of cases where, some social media companies are sued, for reasons of violating ABCD law. So the role of social media platforms is to emphatically look at how to use technology and some kind of logic to block harmful comments and hate speech on the internet against each other.
All right, Doc. In doing all of this, we need to be mindful of the fact that there's freedom of speech. Now, how do we balance the protection of freedom of speech and then as against, cyberbullying? How do we balance the two?
Yeah. Nobody wants to be restricted from sharing their views, and that's very important. Even in marriage, you don't want to restrict the partner from sharing views. So it's important we understand that fundamentally people have views and that they want to share it so that they can be free or they can be loose from their boundaries. But we found that we need that. We can balance free speech and regulation by setting boundaries for what is supposed to be an accepted speech. Okay, we need to set the boundaries for what is supposed to be an accepted speech without limiting expressions. Okay, so you can take an example like in Germany, they have what they call the Network Enforcement Act. That one actually mandates every social media platform to remove, or if you like, individuals who are found culprits to remove hate speech within 24 hours while protecting legitimate criticisms. Okay, so if similarly you look at this, implementing community standards and setting public reporting tools can encourage self-regulation. If you bring in such kinds of rules, then people would now begin to look at how they comment. They will now begin to think about it. They can stop and think about what they would write on the internet before they post it. Okay, and that can really help in some way, trying to give a balance to how we share our views and how we follow the regulation. So it's important everybody shares their views, but we all have to be mindful, setting boundaries to what is supposed to be an acceptable speech without, harming others on the internet.
All right, so Doc, whether we like it or not, cyberbullying will continue because for some people that is who they are. But how important is education? Because for some people they do not even know when they are being bullied.
Yes.
Yeah. So how important is education in raising awareness about cyberbullying?
Exactly. This is a very critical point. I think that education is critical for raising awareness about the consequences of cyberbullying. Um, like you said, people may not even have the slightest clue, even to identify that they have been bullied before or they are being bullied and so on. But interestingly, with the way human beings are, we all have instincts when, and then we're able to understand when somebody is trying to hate us or somebody is trying to, put us in a position of being attacked on the internet. We feel it when people are acting against us with their posts on the internet and through other electronic comments. So this is a fundamental instinct that everybody basically would have. But we need to kind of raise more awareness on the consequences of cyberbullying. So for instance, if I get to know that if I would take somebody through ABCD bullying, I would be subjected or susceptible to a law or to be punishable by law, and this could be my kind of punishment. Maybe I would be fined or I could be imprisoned for doing this kind of cyberbullying on the internet. Then I become more conscious of the fact that I need to stop at a point and think before I make a post. Okay, so it is important. I think that is the aspect that many people lack. But basically, if people should identify whether they are being bullied or not, everybody fundamentally knows. But we need to educate people on what the consequences are. So how many people are aware of the Cybersecurity Act's provision against cyberbullying? Okay, so how many people know that there is a framework that the Cybersecurity Authority has brought up to help to prevent, manage, and respond to cyberbullying? Okay, so I'll give an example. For instance, in the Cybersecurity Act, in the section 62, it criminalizes the use of electronic communication to intentionally cause fear, harm, or distress to another person. And actually, cyberbullying falls under this kind of provision. Okay, so it is important for everyone to know that this is what the law is doing for you. It's making a provision that should help protect you or to save you from going through such kind of experience of being bullied on the internet. And so the law also provides an approach to report. For instance, if you are being a victim of cyberbullying, you can report the incident to the Cybersecurity Authority, or you can report it to the law enforcement organizations in the country, like the police, Ghana Police Service, and then they can launch investigation into the issue. And those who are the offenders may face significant fines or even could be imprisoned for using digital platforms to harass or intimidate others. And so if we would basically talk about education being critical, I think it's more tuned towards people knowing what is their right and to what extent should they allow somebody to bully them on the internet, and how can they report such incidents to the law enforcement or to the Cybersecurity Authority. And it's critical, and we need to actually fuel public awareness in this line.
All right, finally, Doug, before you go, this is a political year. We have about 3 days to elections, and a lot of discourses will be going on. They have started, they haven't ended, they will still continue. Now, what will you say to political parties or individuals who are engaging in this political discourse in relation to cyberbullying?
Yeah, so thank you very much for this question, and I think it's a very important one that we try to address by encouraging all political parties to refrain from being toxic and being harmful or be expressing hateful comments on the internet and in social medias or using other electronic means. It's important that we voice out policies I mean, if you look at some percentage of the people in the country, some people are very elite and others are also maybe illiterate. But everybody is able to fundamentally understand when you communicate policies, and people will tend to follow or vote for you based on how practical your policies are and how achievable they are. So I think that as a country, we need to understand that it is time for us to rather be reasonable about how comment when we see the campaign platform. Why don't we rather focus on telling the people the policies that we have or the plans that we have and how we feel like we can change the country with policy A, B, C, D, and instead of fighting each other or trying to be negative, with the word propaganda, in our flow of communication. So I think that propaganda is an aspect of the political process or political thing, but at some point, if we are kind of moderate, if you are rather telling the truth, it doesn't become bullying. Okay, so you should rather be truthful, and you should rather communicate your policies and your ideas to the people more than being completely negative and trying to ensure that somebody is trolled. And when they are down there in the negativity, and their people are restrained because of the fear of being bullied, then now you get the upper hand to rather win the election or in fact, or to progress even in terms of percentage for the election. But I think it's important that politicians would look at this when we are making comments on the internet, because we leave footprints on the internet. Whatever we write, it there, and people get to see it in future. People can give a snapshot of what we said later on in the future. So everything you say as a politician is critical, and it's important. From my perspective, you rather communicate your policies more than being hateful on the internet. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Doc, for your time. We are very, very grateful for your time.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
All right, so that was our discussion on cyberbullying. I don't know if you have any questions, but if you have been on the internet, I'm sure that one way or the other, you have been bullied in a certain way, and Doc has really educated us on how to make sure that we are using the internet well, and then how to make sure that nobody gets to bully you on the internet. Etonam, I don't know about you, but have you ever been bullied on the internet?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Right, it's good that you have not been bullied, because I have seen a lot of people being bullied.
Yes.
And like I said, there are people who do not even know that they are being bullied.
Exactly. And even if you get to know that you are being bullied, how many people know what they should do after they are being bullied? How many people report these cases to cybersecurity experts? They don't. We just let it go. Or you see the banter on internet, that's all they keep doing. But it's good to know today from Dr. Emmanuel Ahene that we can actually report these cases. Yes. The Ghana police can take it up, and those people can be fined for putting fear in you or making you feel unsafe. So please, whenever somebody actually bullies you on the internet, don't let them go free, and then don't take the law into your own hands. Sometimes you see people say, "Okay, you wait, I'll meet you," and they will actually time you. And then, I've seen a case like that. It was a celebrity. I think she was bullied, and then she decided to. I think she followed the person's Instagram post, Snapchat, and all of that, and located the person's location.
Wow.
Yes, and not confronting. It was on the internet. It was a Nigerian actor. I don't want to mention the name. Yeah, and so some people can actually locate you down and harm you. So you too, stop bullying people. If you are bullying people on the internet, you should be careful about that as well, because you never know if the person cannot report you, especially in Ghana. They'll say, "Oh, Ghana, baby." And then you will not end you well. So please, let's learn from it. I think I was really educated today.
Me too. Because this is a political, whether we like it or not, it's an election year, and people will go to any extent to make sure that they are doing things to. I think that we also have to look at the psychological aspect. We get a counselor or a psychologist to look at the psychological impact or aspects of cyberbullying. And so that is all for our agenda for today, which is cyberbullying in political discourse. hand over to you at all so that we continue with our interview.
So like we promised you,